So what I want to do is, in the next 5 minutes or so, I want to talk about my view of, or IBM's view of how we see this coming together. And you have to bear with me. The way I'm going to do this is I'm really going to come at this with a single view of the citizen. I think we have the wrong one. So before I go there, I can't stress enough the importance of using information as a strategic asset. And if you just hang with me for the next 5 minutes, I'll show you why that is very relevant in the UID efforts that are going on in India today. Right? The issue is, you see a lot of government and citizen issues here, but this issue really is in every sector, right? Public sector, private sector, all the industry verticals, petroleum, chemical, manufacturing, so on and so forth. The problem is there are many sources of information. Each of these sources of information is siloed. So if I were to take an example of the government, you have your income tax system, you have your transportation system, you have your some government programs like BPL, so on and so forth. And each one of these things is very rich in information. The issue is there is no single version of the truth, and so there is no trusted information, right? So the very first thing is to be able to glean information from all of these different sources and basically establish what is a trusted view of the information that you're interested in. Right? So moving right along, if you kind of parlay that to what the government sees, and this is really the government in any country in the world, the US definitely sees it, I know India sees it, right? So bridging this back to the citizen view, because that's what we're all talking about over here, there are some very definite problems. One, of course, is understanding the citizen completely, right? Who is the citizen? What is their household? Who is the mother, father, brother, sister, somebody else living with them? The second thing is integrating that citizen information across all the different government programs, right? There are so many different programs, new ones spring up every day. How do you get a single view of that, not only from a citizen perspective, but a provider perspective, a partner perspective, and government caseworker perspective, right? And how do you make that multimodal? Can I dial in with my mobile phone? Can I go in through a web browser? Can I go in person and deal with it? So it's things like that. Creating a better citizen experience. We always talk about a single view of the citizen. How about a single view of the government to the citizen? Very important. And that's really what I'm talking about. Collaborating across governments and with different partners. I can't stress the importance of this enough because, as you know, when you walk up to a government entity, it certainly happens in the US, I assume it happens here, and you want to apply for some program that you're eligible for, you have to produce a whole host of documents that you perhaps have already given to the government at some point in time. So how can you break down those silos and get just one set of information on that particular citizen, which will not only help in reducing costs, but will also help in making sure that the errors are not there. Because if you have 3 different driver's licenses and 2 different birth certificates, God knows which is the right version of the truth. Enabling business insight. So one of the key pain points that every government entity faces is how effective are my programs? How effective are my programs, right? So if you've got trusted information about the citizen and what you're doing with the citizen, across the different channels that I talked about, getting these intelligence reports and ensuring that you're only continuing with the ones that are actually effective, changing the ones that are not effective, and perhaps discontinuing some that make no sense at all because no one's using it or the margin of error is too high. Extremely important. And of course, lastly, IT is just an enabler. It's not the means, it's the means to the end, right? It's not the end itself. So how does this all happen? I would maintain that creating a UID is perhaps the trivial part of this task. I mean, I know it's a logistical nightmare. People have said you can use your mobile number, your PAN card number, or any other source that's out there and prevalent. But I would still maintain that assigning that number is actually the trivial part of the exercise. The real trick here is how do you account and know each citizen in the country of India, and how do you tag that person? Once you know that person, you know the individual, assigning a number to that is a fairly trivial task. So it is getting that unique list of people, that single view of a citizen, that is the biggest problem over here. And once you get that single view of a citizen, then all the other programs that we talked about, the income tax, the land, the low power poverty line, whatever, becomes very easy. You know exactly who you're administering the service to. You know what part of the benefits that a citizen is eligible for, who's taking care of part in what, and who's interested in what else, right? So that's the kind of information you want to keep your costs down, to make sure there's no fraud and the right people are getting the right help at the right time. So we have, clearly a logical architecture that we've been building over the last 3 years. We've done a lot of pilots, and we've done a lot of deployments around the world. We've got one in CNAF in France. We've got one in the immigration authorities in Australia. We're doing one with the New York City Health and Human Services. We're doing one with Texas Health and Human Services. So we're doing a lot of these things around the world, and the key again is establishing that trusted information base. And the way you do it is you ensure that you find all your sources of information. So your land records authority, your income tax, your driver's license, your passport, and you merge all of these to ensure that you have a unique list of citizens across the country of India, which is the biggest problem. And of course, being the Infosphere guy, I have to show you my products over here, but we do have a very rich set of products in the space, and we built the solution, as I said. So once you get that single view of a citizen, that's when you go beyond the single view and you start to get value both to the government and the citizen. And here's just an example that I'm using. This was done with the Health and Human Services of New York City. Like I said, we're extending that to several state governments and city governments in the U.S., working with the central government as well. And the idea here is these guys really went after presenting a single view of themselves to the citizen after getting a single view of the citizen. And in doing that, they were able to shorten times. For example, if you're below the poverty line in the city of New York, you can actually walk up and say, I need some food stamps, right? And they send you to some other office, and that person will say, go back and get your driver's license or your income tax return. Some people don't even have that. So you have to go to the third office, produce the document, come back here, show to them. And so all of these government departments, 45 of them, were extremely siloed. They had 1 billion records of citizen documents lying all over the place, and some of them didn't even have any of them, right? So what they did was they federated the view across all of these 45 different agencies. So when a citizen walked up and said, here is my income tax return and I'm below the poverty line, they could pull that citizen up by the unique identifier and say, yes, you are, and I see all your supporting documents, and here's your food stamps. And that's just one simple case, right? Simple for me, important for the people who are starving. The same thing can be extended to any government service, which is what the city of New York is doing, and that's where the rest of the U.S. Infrastructure is headed as well. So again, in closing, I will say, creating the UID is really going to be the trivial part of it here. The hard part is to find out exactly who the citizens are without duplicating them, without missing out a few, and ensuring that every single individual is accounted for. Thank you.